Kristy Bible. I'm the site coordinator here at Oakhurst Garden, and I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of tips on overwintering your garden. So one of the biggest things, and probably the most important, is making sure that you provide a nice blanket for your crops. So there are a couple ways you can do this. You can use shredded leaves, which is what I like to use because it's free. All you do is rake up all those leaves in your yard, and then you can either put them through a shredder or run over them with a lawnmower, and it makes a really nice fine leaf matter. And this is a great blanket for your crops. It does a couple things. One, it keeps them warm. Two, it keeps the moisture in. And third, it keeps some of those weeds from coming up around your crop. So even in the summer, this is a great idea, mulching. If you don't want to use shredded leaves or you don't have access to them, you can also buy wheat straw. That's a great mulch to use as well. So yeah, just make sure all of your crops have a really nice thick blanket around them to keep them warm over the winter. So another thing to do when you're working in the garden in the winter is to pull out all of your summer crops and save seeds from them. So right here we have an old marigold that got killed with the winter frost. So I'm just going to cut it off at the base. And the reason I do that is because you can leave the roots in, and they're just going to be plant matter that will decay and really just help your soil. So there's no reason to pull that out and disturb the soil. So then for saving the seeds, what I'll do is I'll take a dried flower pod, and I'm just going to open it up and pull out the contents, which is a bunch of marigold seeds. So I can save these and plant them in the spring. I'll just put them in this glass jar here. You can put it all kind of in there together and let it dry out nicely, and just save it somewhere where moisture can't get to it. And then don't forget about them, and enjoy planting them in the spring. So one more thing that you should do before you leave your garden for the winter is plant some garlic. So garlic is a really, really easy crop, because once you plant it, you can kind of leave it. You don't have to do much care with it other than mulch. So the way you plant garlic is super easy. You get a clove of garlic, or a bulb of garlic. You can get this from the farmer's market. You can get it from the grocery store even. It's best to try to find an organic bulb, just because you don't want any sort of chemicals on there that would deter its growth, right? So all you'll do is you'll break this up into individual cloves, just like this, very simply. I'm going to take a few more of those, and then we're going to plant it. You want to plant it with the pointy side going up and the root side pointing down. And we've already started some garlic here, so we're just going to continue the same pattern as well. So what you'll do is, Lily, if you want to dig a hole I think we used a half a trowel between each one, so kind of measure a half a trowel between this garlic and where you're going to plant. And how deep should it be? So that's about right. And just dig your hole like that. That's pretty good. And then a little bit deeper. You just want the whole thing to be under, but not too far under. That looks pretty good, about 2 inches, and you stick that right in there. Remember, it's very important that you put it in the right way. That pointy part is going to be sticking up. That's where the sprout's coming out. You stick it down right there. You should see the sprouts coming up probably, I think, I said these were planted around Halloween. So already after about 6 or 7 weeks, you can see that their growth is pretty substantial. So yeah, then all you'll have to do with this is go ahead and put a nice layer of mulch once you see the sprouts come up, and you're good to go until the summer solstice when you can pull it out. I like like planting garlic at school gardens because my son last year was learning multiplication, and so they do everything in arrays, or they make arrays, and so like this was like a really nice way to kind of show them how even farmers and gardeners need math, right? So this is some lettuce that we have, and it's very well established. And as you can see, it looks super healthy. All the leaves are sticking up nicely. Nothing looks very wilted. And it rained about 2 days ago, so this is nicely watered. I would really only water when you see things looking like they need water, which just means the leaves are kind of droopy. They look like they're not sticking up very much, and they look kind of sad. In that case, you could water it, but really they don't need as much water during the winter. And if you've mulched really nicely, then that keeps the water that's in the soil from evaporating quickly and really reduces the amount of watering that's needed. If you've mulched nicely, you definitely don't need to water more than once a week, if that. So the really nice thing about living in Georgia is that you can garden year round. A lot of climates are only seasonal, and Georgia is not. We can plant things all year round. So, but you have to plant the right things. So for fall and winter time, it's important that you plant things that are frost tolerant. So for example, these lettuces, these guys can withstand temperatures down to the mid-20s. So you don't have to worry too much about them because it definitely doesn't get colder than that in Georgia, and very rarely does it get that cold. Anything in the brassica family, like these cabbages or collards or kale, those are all really great things to plant during the winter because they're even more cold hardy. These guys could withstand temperatures in the teens, and they'd be totally fine. So a lot of these leafy greens are perfect winter plants, and in fact a lot of them taste even better when they've had a really nice cold snap. So the other thing that you can do besides leafy greens are sugar snap peas, these grow really well in the winter, and they're very tolerant of cold temperatures as well. Obviously you need a trellis to put these on, but they are delicious, and especially for school gardens, kids love to eat these. So I definitely suggest growing these, and they're super easy to grow just from seeds. Radishes are another one that grows well in the winter and can tolerate cold weather, likes cold weather. So planting radishes, again, sowing these directly in the ground. And then carrots. We planted these carrots probably about 6 weeks ago, and they will be fine all winter as well. So those are some things that you can plant and enjoy during the winter in Georgia. So if you forgot to plant out your winter garden, fear not, you can still plant some stuff, and it's actually really good for you to go ahead and plant some things. That way you don't get tons of weeds in your bed, and it's just healthy for the soil. So you can buy specific winter cover crops. Red clover is one, buckwheat is another. But a really inexpensive way to cover your bed, and it's also really nice because you can harvest it and eat it, is just to take all of your old winter seeds, mix them all together in a bowl, and throw them down in your bed, and just let it all come up in this big, huge patch of lovely greenery. You can still eat all of this. A lot of this you can just kind of cut and make a mixed green salad with, but it'll also keep your soil nice and weed free. There's also some calendula in here. Calendula is a flower that will grow well in the winter, so you can put that in there. There's some Mizuno, there's some lettuces. This I think is some kind of like bok choy maybe. So there's all kinds of stuff. Take all those greens and just throw them all together and create a little salad mix for yourself.